sovereignty of God refers to God as absolute ruler, controller, and sustainer of all of his creation. To talk about sovereignty is to talk about rule or authority. And he sits on the throne of the universe. Everything he created, he rules over. And he created everything. What this means is that there is no noun, person, place, thing, or thought that situates itself or operates outside of God's sovereignty. That there is nothing that escapes him, nothing that can override him, nothing that he is not fully aware of, because he rules all things, because he either causes all things to happen, one option, or he consciously allows things to happen. But there are no oops, mistakes, missed that one, or surprises. Because if it happened, he either made it happen or he okayed it happening, even if he didn't directly cause it to happen. So let's get this straight. Nothing exists outside of the rule of God in your life, in this world, or in creation. The Bible says not one bird falls to the ground of which he is not fully aware, and not one hair of one's head is lost, that he is not fully overseeing that. So he is not just sovereign in the sweet by and by, he's sovereign in the nasty here and now. He's sovereign in the big things and he's sovereign in the details. He is absolute ruler over all things. Job chapter 23 verse 13 says, God does what his soul desires. Job chapter 42 verse 2 says, no purpose of God can be thwarted or overridden. He will achieve his goals. Psalm 115 verse 3 says, God is in the heavens and he does whatsoever he pleases. Psalm 135 verse 6 says, God rules from the heaven, and that even includes the fish in the sea. Isaiah 14 verse 27, Isaiah 43 verse 13 says that God rules and his ruling cannot be overrun or reversed by man. He is absolute ruler of all. Ephesians chapter 1 verse 11, he does all things after the counsel of his will. Revelation chapter 19 verse 6, our God reigns. So when we talk about the name God, the person God, we're talking about the absolute ruler, owner, creator, controller, sustainer of all things. Nothing sits outside of sovereignty. Perhaps we can relate it to this. Most in here have a home. You own your home, or the bank makes you think you own your home. So you are responsible for your home. You ever have anybody come over to your home and tell you how your home ought to operate? Suppose somebody came in and said, well, I don't like that furniture, I don't like that paint, I don't like how you have it arranged. Well, that may be your opinion, but it's virtually irrelevant until you start paying the house note, paying the utilities. Worse yet is when you have folk who not only come to your home, but live in your house, who want to intrude on your sovereignty. I mean, Anthony was here, and one of the reasons God gives preachers kids is so they can come up with fresh illustrations. This is as fresh as it gets. He comes home from L.A., and he comes into my house, which last time I checked, he has not paid one note on, has not volunteered. He comes open up the refrigerator, having put no food in it. He uses my coffee. He comes to my it kind of takes over. You know, as far as I'm concerned, boy, you are a visitor, okay? So he comes in. So we have a little issue because he likes the house ice cold. I mean, he thinks he's moving to Alaska or something. He turns that thing down. So the thermostat is in my room, my bedroom. I'm in the bedroom with the door closed. Do you think he knocked on the door? No, he did not. He walks right in the bedroom, turns the thermostat down, and I'm looking at him like he done lost his mind. And then he's going to come in, turn the thermostat down, talking about, I'm hot. You hot. You hot in my house, touching my thermostat, walking through my door without permission. So I said, just a minute. You're not going to make me uncomfortable in my own house so you can be comfortable when I'm paying the bill. Go in the den, sleep in the den where there is another unit and you can get as cold as you want to. But don't pretend like this is your house by adjusting it. Maybe some of y'all got kids like this. I ain't the only one. In other words, he came in functioning like a sovereign, functioning like an owner, functioning like a ruler when he was barely a visitor. And isn't that where we get into conflict with the teenagers when they think they're more grown than they ought to be? How do you think God feels, who's owner of the world, and he got these grown kids wanting to dictate to him his creation? Crystal, when she was growing up, you know, she had got this little rebellious streak going on, and we were having a little disagreement. I don't remember what the disagreement was over, but we were having a little conflict, father-daughter conflict, and I said, well, this is the way it's going to be. This is the way it's going to be. She didn't like my ruling. So she storms away from me while I'm talking. Exactly. She storms away from me while I'm talking, and I say, where you going? She said, I'm going to my room. I had to help her sister out. I said, no, you going to the room I might let you sleep in. Because she was taking ownership. And Priscilla, I see you. I haven't forgot that you're sitting right there. But I got a whole sermon for you, so I'm gonna let that lie. God is ruler of all things. We are his tenants in his house of his creation. He lets us exist in for a while. When you lose sight of his sovereignty, rulership, then you act like an owner, which creates conflict with the owner. This leads to a second issue about his sovereignty. And that is, how does his sovereignty relate to our choices? When God created his world, he included something in the creation: choice. He gave men freedom to make decisions. If he would have removed choice, then he would have removed humanity. Because God wanted people to respond to him by choice, not by mandate. Didn't want us to be robots, where he just wind us up and we do what he says. He put two trees in the garden. He says, eat this one, don't eat this one. You choose. Now, let's explain choice. Choice never negates sovereignty. Let me say that again. Choice is real, but it never negates sovereignty. Here's what I mean. On a football field, you have sovereign lines, non-negotiable lines. You got sidelines, you have a goal line, you got hash lines, you got the lines every 5 yards. Those lines don't move. They are not to be negotiated, for they are fixed. They're sovereign lines, non-negotiable boundaries. However, within those boundaries, each team can choose which plays they run, which plays they don't run. Some plays they're going to make progress. Some plays they lose yardage, because they get to make choices. But what they don't get to do is change the boundaries. The boundaries are fixed. So the moment a player runs and he steps on that sideline, a whistle's going to blow because you have infringed on the boundary. The boundary cannot be negotiated, but within the boundary, you can make decisions. God has established sovereign boundaries of which he will let nobody cross. But within those boundaries, he's let you make choices. So sovereignty involves choice. Therefore, here it is, choice allows for evil. Let me put it another way. God doesn't create evil, he creates choice. But when God creates choice, choice allows for evil. Because the mere fact I can choose for means I can choose against. So the fact that God has given you a choice means that you can do like Adam, not choose him, choose against him, and therefore have the repercussions of the choice, therefore sin. Satan fell when he chose to rebel against God. Adam and Eve fell when they chose to rebel against God, which allowed evil to exist. The Bible is clear. God cannot sin, nor does he cause sin, but he allows for sin because he allows for choice. God's sovereignty is controlled by his attributes. The reason why God rules all is because all that makes him God, his attributes, his omnipotence, omnipresence, omniscience, his veracity, his holiness, his grace, his mercy, his wrath, his justice, all of these things that we'll get into later. Those are attributes of God, and the attributes of God assure that sovereignty occurs, because when all of those attributes are collected, nothing can sit outside of them. Therefore, because God manifests his attributes, glory, there needs to be conditions under which various attributes are needed and therefore manifested. So God allows things even if they are against him, because those things that he allows that are against him create opportunity for him to reveal something about himself that would otherwise not be seen. So Romans chapter 1 verse 18 says, for the wrath of God is revealed against all unrighteousness. Romans chapter 9 verses 22 and 23. What if God willing to reveal his wrath? So one of the attributes of God is wrath. But the only reason you need wrath is because you have sin. But the only reason you have sin is because there's a choice. So the choice produced sin. The sin opened the door for wrath.